Okay. So one other, just like RSA algorithm, we have Diffie-Hellman key exchange, another thing. But RSA is something which helps us to provide authentication, confidentiality, all these services, right? Key exchange, everything. But the Diffie-Hellman key exchange it's a public key cryptographic algorithm, but it provides only the key exchange or key establishment. Okay. So this is meant for that particular purpose. It establishes the key across the two entities. Okay. Now what happens is when two users, okay, want to exchange a secret key, okay, shared secret key securely, so which can be used for subsequent encryption of messages. So later, subsequently for encryption of the messages, they want to use secret key. They'll try to depend on the Diffie-Hellman. Okay. So again, it is based on the modular arithmetic. Okay. If P is a prime number and a primitive the root A, or sometimes we use A alpha, is chosen in such a way that A mod P and A square mod P and A power P mod P, they are chosen. Okay. So which leads into, see, now each of these operations will lead into distinct integers, okay, which are falling distinct integers, where it can be from 1 to which is from 1 to P minus 1 in some permutation. Permutation can be anything, but each of these operations, if I look if I choose A as a primitive root, okay, for P, and then if I try to calculate A mod P, A square mod P, the result of these operations are distinct integers, and they fall in between 1 to P minus 1, and it can be in any permutation. In some permutation you enter. Okay, this we try to use it in this particular case. Just see that how it is going to work. So now initially, as I told you, the primitive root A or alpha and the prime P, these are shared between, these are the initial public information with the sender and receiver. Okay, both, see, user A and user B want to establish a shared secret key across these two by using Diffie-Hellman key exchange, which can be later used for the encryption purpose. Okay, now prime P and the primitive root alpha, these are the two components which are used. Then what happens is prime P and primitive root are the public information. Just like in the public key RSA, what happens in the public key is available with everyone, right? Whereas private component is known. Similarly here, P and alpha are some public keys which are available with everyone. Random number X is secret thing which is known only to user A. Random Y is only to B. Okay, it is generated locally. Now by using this public information as well as the the local secret information, they try to perform this kind of modulus oscillation to generate PK1. Just see here, alpha, the primitive root to power X, which is a random generated at the user A end, mod P. Okay, modulus P. This results in PK1. Similarly, by using public information alpha power Y mod P, okay, PK2 is generated. Now each one of these users, they try to share this public key whatever is generated locally with other people. PK1 is generated to the user P, and PK2 is generated to the user A. Just see here, we are doing one more thing. Once PK1 is received by the user B, one more modulus operation is done with the public key received from the other end as well as its local random secret value. PK1 to the power Y mod P. Similarly, what user B will do is that whatever PK2 is sent to the user A uses the PK2 and its own secret random value to the, and then PK2 power X mod P, which now if you analyze alpha power Y mod X, alpha power Y mod X mod P is the one which is nothing but this particular component. Similarly, alpha power X to the power Y mod P. If you analyze carefully, whatever is resulted is nothing but alpha XY mod P, which is nothing but the same value at both ends. So the alpha XY mod P which is generated at the end, at both ends, this is nothing but even the shared secret key. Okay, what is happening is, in this case, there is some kind of public information, PK1, PK2, each one is trying to share with the other end, and it is also trying to use some local secret component, private component. X is called private, Y is private to this. Okay, by using this public as well as the local private, it is trying to generate a secret key. Similarly, this is trying to use the public generated from user A and its own secret to generate this, resulting in the same key established at both ends. So now this particular alpha XY mod P, which we term as K finally, will be used as a shared secret key which can be used for further encryption by the other thing. Okay. Now the question is, if I have PK1, PK2, which I try to intercept and capture at this particular level in between, I know P, I know alpha, PK1, PK2, because we are transmitting over the insecure channel. Is it not possible to get alpha XY mod P? Is the question. Definitely it is not possible, or it is very difficult. It is again different. What happens again, I'll just explain you. So unless you have X or Y, you will not be able to do. I'll tell you. Let us say I have PK1. If I want to, if I have PK1, okay, that the PK1 value, okay, and PK2, if I want to compute K value, what is required is I need to have Y. How do I get Y value? PK1 is known, P is known, but Y is required. Unless I know Y, I cannot compute alpha XY mod. So that is basically based on the discrete logarithms problem. So if I have PK1, if I have P, it is not possible to get the Y value. Okay, PK1 is known, alpha as well as the P. From all these, X cannot be known. See now what happened over the channel, I am sending PK1. PK1 is equal to alpha power X mod P. I know PK1 and alpha as well as P. Only thing is X is not known. So getting this X out of this is based on the discrete logarithms problem, which is the challenging thing in the case of the Diffie-Hellman method. Okay, so this is another Diffie-Hellman key exchange, another popular algorithm which is normally used in our the various security protocols. So what is that? The learning asymmetric key algorithms are fastest implementation of asymmetric RSA can encrypt only in kilobits per second, whereas fastest implementation of DES can encrypt megabits per second. What we are trying to highlight in this slide is symmetric algorithms are faster, so faster compared to the asymmetric key algorithms. Okay. Normally, what is the practice is that we will, as I told you, like one algorithm will not help us to provide the different services. We require different algorithms. We need to have a hybrid model. What we do is that asymmetric key encryption or public key algorithm is used to share the secret key. It can be RSA or it can be Diffie-Hellman. Later, once the secret key is shared, it is then used for symmetric encryption so that the bulk data can be done. So what we are doing, the speed of symmetric as well as the flexibility of asymmetric. So we are trying to take the both of these advantages in our model. So it's a hybrid approach is used. Okay. So coming to the next one, we have the other requirement. See, is something called the integrity, right? So I send something, okay, but it is not received intact. It is modified over the wire. So how do I make sure that the receiver knows that it is not intact, it is modified by someone? There should be a mechanism where we should be able to prove that whether it is intact or whether it is doing this kind of thing. So encryption protects only against passive attack. Encryption protects only against the passive attack. Okay. So what does it mean by encryption protecting only against passive attack? If someone silently listens to the communication without tampering that particular data, then you can protect with the encryption. I can scramble that, convert into unintelligent form and send it. But if someone is trying to tamper that and modify that, then encryption will not help you because the receiver does not know. Receiver assumes that the scrambled information, whatever you are getting, is the one which is encrypted by the other end. But whether it is tampered after that or not is not known. For that, what we do, we depend on the third type of cryptographic algorithm that is called the hash function. What we do, a message digest is computed, which is appended to message using hash function. So what we do, a message digest at the center end of that particular the document. Okay. So that definition, we call it as a message digest, is the hashing terminology. Okay, a message digest is computed at the sender end. Along with the message, you try to compute message digest using hash functions and you send it. Okay, that is how we'll try to provide. So what you'll do, generally very simple this thing approach. What is a hash function is, so what happened, any sized data, whatever maybe, I have some 120 characters or 160 characters or maybe 2 characters, whatever it is. The string of variable length, when it is passed to the hash function, it will try to lead to a fixed size value. Okay, so that is how these hash functions operate. Okay, see there are normal hash functions like which you would have studied, something like mod 10 operation kind of thing, which is a normal thing which you might have used in the data structures and all. But if you look at the cryptographic hash functions, whatever we are talking, they are very sophisticated, where the algorithms should not have any known collisions. Okay, in order to practically implement in our systems. So what happens, I'll just explain you what is the variable length. See, in this case, h of x is equal to x modulus n. Let us say modulus 10 is our function, n is 10. X can be 22 or 222 or 2222. Okay, it can be variable length. Ultimately, when you perform modulus operation, it is always trying to give the remainder as 2 value, right? So that is the kind of thing. It will try to give the fingerprint of that particular message. So what happened? The x is the string of variable length, which is of an arbitrary length. When it is passed through the hash function, it will give some value in the range 0 to n minus 1. See, the hash modulus 10 is very simple one to understand that. But cryptographic algorithms are very powerful. Even there is a slight change of one character in the input string, you always end up in the drastically different signature for that particular thing. That's how you will be able to identify whether it is tampered or not. Okay, x is a function that map any sized data into a fixed size. That's the thing. So what we'll do, along with the message, you try to attach this message digest value, fixed size value, and send it to the other end. So what happened? The receiver will again pass through the same hash function, and then they will apply that particular thing. And the fixed size value, if it is matching with whatever we received from the sender, it is assumed that the data is not tampered over the channel. Okay. Otherwise, if there is a slightly ending up with a different one, we understand that it is the tampered over the channel. And cryptographic secured hash functions, they are all one way. What does it mean? Once you have variable length string, when it is passed through the hash functions, you end up fixed value. From the fixed value, there is no way to get back the original message. Okay, it is only one. No deterministic algorithm exists which can compute which can give back our original message. And two different strings, when they are passed as input to the hash functions, same hash functions, it should lead a different value. Okay, even if there is a slight change of one character. Okay, they should give a different thing. Just look at this particular thing. Just to see now, the right hand side, the pink color boxes, this is the digest. That is a fingerprint generated. You see that the digest is always of fixed length, right? All these, the blue color, somewhat greenish blue color boxes, this is the input string which you are trying to pass through some cryptographic hash function. And you see that the variable length, one is only one word, second one has got multiple things. And you notice that from second box to the end, we have made some changes in the string actually. Change of one character, okay, or two characters, or deleted one character, like that. There is a slight difference. Okay. So if you notice, even there is a slight difference of one character, okay, or if it is you are calculating for one word, or if you have some 5-6 words, you see that size remains the same in the output. But if there is a one character change, you see drastic difference in the digest. So that itself will give a lot of the security. So you cannot be able to predict something from that. Okay. So some of the algorithms are MD5, SHA-1, SHA-256, SHA-512. Okay. So like that, presently we depend on SHA-512 and other things like that. Okay. Blockchain and all heavily depends on the SHA-256 algorithm. Okay. X is the message and H of X is called the message digest or digest. So one of the thing is it has gotten something called avalanche effect. What does it mean is even a small change in the input data will cause significant change in the output. Okay. That means, as I told you, one character change also, it will try to give a